I proudly present to you the Video Store Guide.
Our first show is going to be Die Hard, and it's important. We want everyone to see what we're doing and how we're getting there. So when you guys are, 10, 15 flicks in and you're like, why, how are these guys getting all this information? This is it. And that's what we wanted to shoot this one just to get it out there. And so you can, it's broken down for you to understand where we're coming with all this information.
Plus, it's Christmas time, and it's clearly a Christmas movie. It's referenced all throughout. It's got Beethoven's Ninth Ode to Joy, which honestly is just inextricable from Christmas itself. Ooh, I'm sorry.
And it has Carl Winslow.
And Carl Winslow.
I love that. I love that show as a kid. I loved Family Matters as a kid. Loved it. I loved it.
Did I do that?
Did I do that? I love that show. Everyone did, Cool.
So here's the pitch for Die Hard. Okay. So there's a guy, his name's John McClane, scared of flying, but a guy tells him on the plane the best way to not, to get through the air travel, get the nerves out, is as soon as you land, take your shoes off, walk around, maybe have a shower and a coffee. No problem. He's going to Nakatomi Tower where his wife, Holly, works. Their marriage is on the rocks. He's a New York cop. They're in L.A. Already. We've lost a point. I know. He's trying to reconcile with her. So he goes to the Christmas party and he takes his shoes off, starts walking around. And just then, a bunch of German terrorists storm the building. And they take the CEO, Mr. Nakatomi, hostage and immediately start grilling him about trying to get the codes to the vault. But they don't really even need it anyway. So they kill him. Bam. Now, John hears all this ruckus going on. They don't know he's in the building. He's trying to get the cops' attention. So he gets Carl Winslow's attention by finally getting out to 911. Tell him, what do you think? I'm trying to order a pizza or something? He comes over, does the Carl Winslow. Man, screw this. I don't really want to be doing this. So John McClane has
hands full of Twinkies.
Twinkies, that's right. They're for his wife. She's pregnant.
For his wife.
So he throws McClane throws a body on Powell. He calls him Pal the whole movie because it's like a code name because that's not the point. But Powell is his actual name in the movie. So he gets the whole LAPD and the FBI involved. And basically, he has to pick these guys off one by one, and they're playing a game of cat and mouse, and they can hear everything the other one is saying. So that's why McClane and Powell have to speak in code and give code names. So turns out the German terrorists are not terrorists; they're actually thieves, and they're about to steal a bunch of bearer bonds and get away because they know that the FBI is going to cut the power just in time to let them open the vault because that's exactly what they wanted them to do. Overall, I would say probably one of the greatest classics of all time. I'll defer to you. Do you give your score and overview first? But before you do that, tell me, based on my recommendation, would you have rented that movie? Yes or no?
So picking up the box, no. But
okay,
I hear you saying it. I would absolutely because the action, the Christmas spirit, the whole Christmas spin, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Yep. So what I love most about it, he's told, and it stuck with me the rest of my whole entire life. Even when we deployed into Iraq, I would do it. The guy tells him, just take your shoes off when you first get to the hotel and just curl your feet and curl your toes into the carpet. And Bruce Willis sitting there like, holy shit, that he's great. And my whole entire life, I always do that. And it just always stuck with me. So another part that always stuck with me about the movie is the two people that the two people that weren't married that snuck off at the party. And the chick that shows her tits. Oh man, I love that. And I always look forward to that part.
always edited out of the TV version.
Yeah, the TBS version. That one's always edited out.
The Superstation.
And the whole aspect of his feet, is
a big plot point. They set it up from the first scene in the movie.
Absolutely. It just set it up and it just absolutely made it. My favorite character is Alan Rickman, though. And a lot of people don't know that, Alan Rickman, He made his name in this movie, and he is throughout all of our movies. Present day, he is still making gems.
Well,
Making
R.I.P. He's no longer
made
alive, but yeah,
made gems. Well, he was in
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. That's right, Harry Potter. All the Harry Potter series, and a lot of people don't know that what's his name? Dumbledore?
Severus
Not
Snape.
Dumbledore. Yeah, Snape. Oh, I'm losing my mind. Yeah, Snape. That Snape was Hans Gruber. I
Well,
always
those kids were. I was lucky enough to be raised in the video store, so I knew exactly who he was. Also, from he's playing, the sheriff of Nottingham in the Prince of Thieves, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Kevin Costner, dud that he chews up the scenery. I mean, it's just amazing. But yeah, he was a not a Broadway, but a Royal Shakespeare Company actor. He was a theater actor, which is interesting to have somebody coming from the theater and play such a subdued character. Because when you're in theater, you're playing to the balcony. Everything is up here and it's around, and you have to be big so that they can see you. Diction, projection, and all that. But he plays it so cool, and everything is just very matter of fact. And it just the coolness. So it's funny you should say that. You did say that you love the villain because the director John McTiernan actually turned this movie down several times, did not want them to be terrorists. Okay, so that's why D'Souza, I can't remember his first name, and I think it's Anthony D'Souza, and because the original screenplay was actually written by Shane Black of Predator fame. And Shane Black is great at writing scripts to be rewritten, a la Lethal Weapon, because as soon as they let him just keep being the main writer, it's terrible. He's great at coming up with a core idea and then having somebody like D'Souza come in and polish it off, add a little bit of humor, things like that. So also McTiernan wanted it to be humorous. He wanted it to be funnier, which makes a lot of sense. They bring in this no-name actor, Bruce Willis, which is weird to call him no name as we know him. He was known best for Moonlighting, this comedy series that it seems nobody's seen. The first two movies that he had been in was Blind Date with Daryl Hannah. Hilarious movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
If you've never seen, I think it came out in like 86. He goes on a disastrous blind date and then ends up falling in love with the girl. And then also Sunset, and I can't remember quite what that one was about. I can remember the box in my head. I could see it. It was yellow and it had like painting, like a artist rendering of his face and stuff like that. But yeah, he paid $5 million to be in this, big time action movie. Where at the time, think of this: you and I have the benefit of time on our side that we can look back, retrospect, and say, "Wow, this is where the tide turned." So you have a comedic actor playing an everyman, not a muscle-bound superhero that, might end up with like a small cut here or a small cut here after he's just killed 83 guys. You know what I mean? A la Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
So this is really where the tide turns in the 80s, that really the seed is planted for the 90s masterpieces like The Matrix, like Speed, like I know I just said 2 Keanu movies, right? And John Wick, like all the everyman. John Wick's not an everyman, but it's one of those roles where the audience member puts themselves in that guy's shoes or lack thereof, and it's just him against the odds. So McTiernan asked for all these changes. They decided to make them. Fun fact: it's actually based on a sequel to a book called The Detective, which was also adapted into a movie, which Frank Sinatra starred in, and contractually 20th Century Fox had to offer Sinatra the role. Luckily, he was in his 70s. He said, "I'm too old to be playing this role." And they said, "Thank God, because we want to rewrite it." So just a little tidbit of history. Also, another little tidbit, 2 tidbits, because I know I've been talking for like 6 minutes straight. They filmed it at the 20th Century Fox headquarters that was being built at the time in Century City.
I was waiting for it to come in. Yep.
Which is why all of the construction sets look very construction-y. So they filmed in 3 different parts of the building, and including the roof, in which they were able to actually utilize the construction as a set. And the third tidbit is something that we will never see again, except until the movie Ambulance, which came out last year or this year, I can't remember, with Michael Bay, a helicopter stunt that they just completely disregarded, like the city of Los Angeles. When the helicopters come in and they fly into LA, and that guy's like, whoa, just like K-San. And he's like, am I right? And the guy's like, I was 6. You know what I mean? Like, which is a hilarious joke that if you like is lost on younger people. But they actually, it took like 13 days just to plan that. And then they only got 3 takes, but they only ended up filming 2 because the city was like, yeah, you guys are making a bunch of noise. You're canking and banking through the actual high rises. And they did the explosion for real, but they also composited, rotoscoped in some extra explosion. That's why if you've seen it like on Blu-ray, it looks a little fake with the explosion at the end, or not at the end, but towards the climax when McClane gets everybody off the roof and he jumps off with the fire hose and swings into the building. Because of the rotoscoping, but in the original aspect ratio and when it was filmed in 65 millimeter, by the way, like old school, real, like John Wayne, film. That's why some of the best special effects, honestly, this is one of the first outings for a company that I can't remember. It was a former member of Industrial Light and Magic, which was the team, obviously, that did like The Abyss and Star Wars. And this was one of their first outings. So when Hans Gruber is fallen, it's actually, it's not rear projection or anything. It's actually composited in afterwards on blue screen. And last tidbit, they didn't tell Alan Rickman that they were going to drop him. That's why his face is so perfect in that slow-mo, because they said, we're going to drop you on 3, point the gun. He starts pointing the gun and they said 1, and they dropped him and he goes, and it's like the most perfect thing. They only did 1 take. So sorry. So now that I've just shoved a bunch of information, I know way too much about
No way, man. That's why you're the 2 B's of this. Brains and beauty. Because you can make it work, man. You can make it work. So my rating on Die Hard, and I'm probably gonna get eaten alive for this, is 9 of 10. Okay. Ooh. And the only reason I give it 9 of 10 because it was shot in LA. But ultimately, if it was shot anywhere else, I would give it 10 of 10.
Now, I don't know. Should you? I'm not going to try to correct your score here, but would you take an extra point away for it starting in New York because he's on the tarmac at LaGuardia?
Nope.
Okay, so you're just going to be a single point across the board. Got it.
Yep. 1 single point across the board. One point across the board, definitely.
Well, as far as subtext, there really wasn't a whole lot, really. I mean, there was a good partner buddy aspect between I can never remember his name, Carl Winslow and Bruce Willis.
Johnson.
Thank you. The supporting cast is as great as always. Like everybody's a heavy hitter. Even Argyle has his time to shine, and he gets that 1 punch out in the end. As far as plot goes, composition wise, McTiernan knows exactly what he's doing, and I think he's at his best in this series. In Die Hard with a Vengeance, because I think as far as the way that these movies are shot, he really shines. I think for the constraints that they were in, being claustrophobic in that building, a lot of the reds and oranges for LA because of the smog during the daytime scenes, and a lot of steel blue, really dark, cold industrial lighting for all of the interior shots. Nothing's too dark that you can't see. Everything is still well lit. Like I said, no subtext because the writing is 80s action, but overall, man, and no agenda to be found whatsoever. Everything rings true. You earnestly believe in everything that McClane is saying. You believe in everything Gruber is trying to do. Like when he gets in, like, for example, when he gets in Holly's face, when she says, after all this, you're just a common criminal. And he gets right in her face. And he is like, I am an exceptional criminal. I am no. And it's like, ooh, one time he loses his temper is when she basically not only emasculates him, but takes a dig at his credibility as a thief, not as a liar, not as a murderer, but as a thief, which is insane. So I have to go And as far as genre, this movie is perfect in it, but on its own, it is perfect as a genre piece. It redefines a genre piece. I have to say 9 out of 10 as well. I'm so tempted to say 10 out of 10, but
It's tough because
it's tough.
you have to have that curve. It's
Yeah.
going to be so hard to have that 10 of 10.
You know why? I'm gonna give you a superficial reason why. Because in the beginning of the movie, when they come in the box truck and they open it up and there's nothing in it and all the guys walk out, and then later on in the movie when they open it up and there's an ambulance in it, 1 point.
Boom. That's what I'm talking about, son. So IMDb rates it 8.2 of 10.
Oh wow!
And Metascore gives it 7.2.
What? Metacritic is 7.2? That low?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a Rotten Tomatoes? Like, what's the audience score versus the critic score?
I do not.
Because Metacritic is between IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, and then a couple others. I wonder. I imagine the audience score has got to be up in the high 90s. And the weather outside is frightful. And the fire is so delightful. Sorry about my voice. I've been losing it. I sang quite a bit during Thanksgiving. I was at my cousin's house and we played pool and in his game room and sang and drank merrily.
Rotten Tomatoes is 94%.
See, there we go. I want to give it a 10, but I give it a 9, so it's like a 9.5. So I'm right there with him. I'm right there with him.
And it's the only reason I will not do it because it is out of LA. So
it's out of LA, babe.
Because everything is out of LA or New York. All right, guys. I think our next show is going to be we have to do Die Hard 2. Oh,
for sure. It's another Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost exactly the same movie in almost every way. Oh, it's so good. And we get to see Winslow come back. We get to see Argyle and the Holly come back. Everybody comes back for this. It's almost like it was a cash grab or something.
You'd think so.
That's why you always forget about it until Die Hard with a Vengeance revitalizes the franchise because it finally goes in a different direction. It's not during Christmas. And you're going to lose a point immediately because it's in New York. And but you get Sam Jackson, so you introduce the buddy portion to it, which after that, every single other Die Hard movie is a buddy movie. So we can talk more about the Die Hard franchise at that time. Until then, we have been the Video Store Guys. I'm Tyler. This is Terp. See you next time.
Amen.
Thanks for joining us today. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time for the Movie Store Guys.